Hey.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. You?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yay.
So, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Very excited.
I'm excited too. Okay,
Yes.
so for anybody that is coming in to listen, this is the second Rose Golden Hour. My name is Stephanie Jack. I am a mom, artist, activist. I am a goddess. I am so many different things. And today I am having my very first guest on my live series, Miss Maria Acosta. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to start with just introducing you. This is your space to talk about your experience. I'm just here to guide you with any questions I have, but it's based on your flow. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's been about over a month since we did our Zoom call to prepare
hmm
for this live, so I'm super excited to see you again.
I'm so
Yeah,
excited too.
tell me how you're feeling.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a little shaky. This past month for me was very hard.
Hmm.
And but I'm feeling very optimistic. I'm feeling very renewed with the lessons
Hmm.
of this past cycle for me. Today is my first day of bleed, so I'm feeling that energy very much. Um, and yeah, I'm also very honored to be on your series and very honored to have met you.
Thank you. I'm
hmm
honored to have met you. Um, so we kind of talked a little bit about the fact that you wanted intuition to be the main focus of our conversation. And so you were telling me before we got on the live about how um, intuition is an imperfect dance. Can you speak to that?
Very much so. It's, I think it's learning the language of our bodies and learning what our inner voice sounds like, um, and being loyal to it. It's something that we're not taught from a young age, and learning it as an adult is takes it's a non-linear learning experience for sure. There's some really good days and then there's some bad days where we make mistakes, and then it's just about never giving up on it and continuing to learn with every step. Um, yes, so even I feel very, very passionate about this. I feel like it is step one um, in childbirth preparation. I feel like it's the first thing that needs to be talked about before anything else, because it helps navigate through the wonderful journey and the very, very hard journey that is birth. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that
hmm
because um, as you were kind of talking about before, I feel like before I've gotten on the live, I feel like, pit in my stomach, what am I about to do? What have I stepped into?
I know,
Um,
me
is
too.
it really worth doing? And what's crazy is I had a dream last night and woke up and felt that you were going to call me and tell me that you didn't want to do the live.
Oh my God.
Which was crazy because you called me before we got on. And um, I felt like that was just me needing to validate and affirm myself that what I'm doing is worth listening to, is worth experiencing. So,
It's
yeah,
worth
I feel
showing
like
up.
intuition has always been like a back and forth thing with me because I choose to listen to it sometimes, and other times I just feel like I want to just ignore it and do what my mind is telling me or what society is telling me to do.
For sure. And I also think I might have sent you, you know, uh, psychic powers, because probably for the past day, I've been having second thoughts. I was like, should I do this? Is this the right thing to do? Do I have enough expertise in myself? Do I know enough? I'm still messing up. I'm still making mistakes. am I the right person to talk about this? So I've been having all these thoughts as well. And it's crazy that you had that dream. But no, I had to remind myself the same thing. This is worth it. The person who needs to hear this message will be here with us. And if it's just one person that we can help navigate, have a better birth experience, it'll be worth it for sure.
So how long have you been a birth worker?
So I began my doula training early last year, and I've been going really, really slow. It's taken over a year for about a year and a half for me to finish the training course, because it was a year and a half of going into my deepest corners, the darkest things, the pains, the joy, finding my authentic self, having constant transformation, having constant breakdowns, into finding the core of my being that has been buried down underneath layers and layers of life. Everything, experiences, beliefs, my ego, the stories that others tell me about me, the stories that I believe, society, religion, everything. It's just underneath all those things. And to get there, it's been really, really challenging, but also really rewarding. I know that sounds really cliche, but it was my experience, and it was really great. So basically, I've been dueling myself for about a year and a half. I just finished earlier, probably a couple of months ago. No, probably like 3 or 4 months ago.
So who did you train or certifying with? Who what
Sure.
group were you with?
I trained with the Dynamo Doula training course by the amazing Angela Gallo. Her Instagram is the Angela Gallo. And she is definitely a revolutionary in terms of birth work, the way we see the system, how we work, how basically our relationship with the system, our relationship with hospitals, our relationship with the authority over our births that has been created upon all birthing people. And that course really opened my eyes to a lot of really, really hard realities that are happening. Really inspired me to continue and emphasize the importance of this work.
So from the Dynamo Doulas group, you felt like you wanted to become a birth worker. So tell me about your business, like why you chose the name, and what your real passion is behind being a birth worker.
The name just came up because I had no idea what I would call my brand, my persona, for a platform for my Instagram platform. And I just grabbed a blank piece of paper and I started writing down just things that inspire me, and bathing in moonlight came up like that. And because I sat down, I was like, it's gonna come up today, because I had been thinking about it for months. This happened last year, and just this year I came around to making the website and making my Instagram, everything have the same name. So it just came with a little creative storm. I sat down to have a little creative vomit, like Gaga says, and figure it out from there. And what led me to do birth work and what really inspired me was honestly anger, at the injustice. The anger is the fire. The injustices that the birth trauma that people go through, is just not right. And it never sat down right with me. And the more I read stories, anecdotes, podcasts about it, the more I followed doulas and birth workers and midwives, and just reading comments of birthing people just saying, this happened to me, this is what I went through. This is what the medical system did to me. This is what my medical provider did to me. That really ignited a fire inside me, and it hasn't let go of me since then.
Yeah. I don't feel it ever leaving me because it's so strange how the work that I did before, which was being a union leader and, an activist of some sort, fighting for workers' rights. But then I was shown the whole dynamic of how slavery ties into the workspace and how even in obstetrics and gynecology that was created from slavery. And it really dawned on me that I started out as a kid doing like crisis intervention, doing like calls, helping people that were facing so many different issues. And I was helping people over the phone to wanting to be that type of person in the workspace, trying to help people when they are mistreated in the work environment. And then now trying to prevent trauma, trying to prevent death, trying to prevent so much damage and destruction that happens when we are losing that human, compassion and experience when it comes to birth.
That major
Yeah.
rite of passage. Yeah, we've completely disconnected from it. They've disconnected us from it, and how powerful it is for the whole family.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what words do you use to describe yourself?
I would say I'm passionate. I'm opinionated. I like the word freedom a lot. It's everybody's definition of their personal freedom is completely different, but my personal freedom is very, very important to me. My freedom to explore, for my curiosity, for my creativity is very, very important to me. So I would say free.
Yes. Last month you told me that you were very big and very opinionated. And I feel like versus wrapped into who you are as far as your spirit and why you choose to be big and why you choose to be opinionated. And big isn't always a good connotation. People try to put negative emphasis on big. You can be big just by being in the room. Be big just by the things that you believe in.
Yes, taking up space.
Exactly. What is something recently that moved you?
I would say I had a very frank conversation with my mother last week. And she kind of reminded me something that I know. And I was so moved that my mom was able to be there for me. The past month, I've been trying to go at 100 miles an hour. And in a few words, what my mom told me last week was, you need to slow down. And he really hit me. And I was like, I do need to slow down. And I had a breakdown of the meaning of the past cycle. And it was a very important moment, I would feel, of my recent past. Because I tend to try to solve everything on my own, which is ironic because I'm here trying to teach birthing people that they don't have to be alone. They cannot be alone, that they can receive help, that they're worthy of receiving reassurance and company and nurturing. And I was here trying to figure out everything that was happening to me by myself. And my mom was the one that helped me and said, you need to slow down. I would say that. My recent moment of of compassion towards myself that my mom provided for me. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like the last thing my mom mentioned to me was to slow
Really.
down, or that I'm doing so many different things. I'm so busy all the time. And I take it in two different ways because it's like, yeah, I am. I am doing the most. And then sometimes there will be people that will tell you to slow down because they are not seeing you, pouring into yourself, and they're not seeing you in those moments when you are doing, creating space for self-care. And they just see the aspects of you doing so much to accomplish something so great. So it's a two-sided thing for me. Um, but I do believe in taking breaks because it how it always is with me is whenever I want to do something, things are very slow. And when I want to relax, a million things pop up, and there's so many different due dates, so many different people need me in so many different places. And
Mm-hmm.
I need to embrace the times that there's nothing going on, like really sitting in those moments and taking that as a message to just reflect and to love myself and to care and put things into who I am first before I go out and start giving love to others. So,
Definitely.
yes.
Definitely.
Let me see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what are some of your specialties as a birth worker? Because I believe that you love the postpartum aspect of
Mm-hmm.
birth. I believe that you are very like you enjoy the aspects of yoni steaming and caring for your womb. What are the things that make you that you're passionate about as a birth worker specifically, as well as advocacy?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Activism is always present. Aside from that, like you said, postpartum, um, the village. I just read a story about Aidula that I follow. She's very, very real and honest online on her platform. And she just said that she created that village for herself. And even with that village, it's still so hard. Postpartum period is so, so hard. Um, and I am very passionate about the planning towards postpartum because under it's overlooked
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times. There's a lot of preparation for birth. There's a lot of preparation for many things, but not in your well-being and your emotional, psychological, spiritual state of mind after the birth. And there's a lot of rituals that we have lost throughout the years that help that transition become easier. Um, I'm very passionate about teaching women that the postpartum period is a phase of labor, is a stage of labor, that we don't think about it that way. So labor is not over when the placenta is born. And we take that for granted, definitely. So the postpartum planning, I think, would be one of the things that I would like to focus on and guide people through the preparation and the journey through the postpartum period, definitely. And it comes back to intuition, because with intuition and visualizations, we can plan a postpartum period that is perfect for each individual, unique for each individual, because each person is going to have different needs.
Yeah. Um,
Definitely.
I agree. The fact that the fourth trimester is something that is heavily overlooked. I believe part of it is because it was never, the norm to set time to recover. I know, especially with the evolution of the working um, woman or the working birthing person,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's a lot of neglect on what you're supposed to do after that. And my
Yeah.
client that I have, she is, or when she was right about to have her baby, it was like the focus was on school. It was on husband needing to get back to work. It was on being financially stable during this time, and there was a lot of neglect on, you know, laying down to rest, or, you know, taking time to really think about a sleep schedule for her child that was under 2. There's so many different areas where, not just with her, but with myself, that I felt like I couldn't give the reins over to my partner in my experience. And my bleeding would, you know, go back to being red. It wouldn't heal. And in a lot of different instances, I could see myself being overwhelmed with so many things because I didn't take the time to talk about what I wanted, how I wanted people to support me, so that I wouldn't be alone in that space. And you said something about the placenta too, because I feel like people that are pregnant, they aren't getting enough time to talk about what's actually happening inside the body. So it's like they aren't in tune with the placenta. They'll either keep it away from them, or there'll be instances where, you know, you want to see your placenta, or you want to take it home, and you're unable to because you don't know to advocate for that. Yeah, I have incorporated postpartum planning into my birth planning sessions, and now I have created an advocacy questionnaire where we go through the ways that you want to be advocated in the moment, and how you can, you know, use your voice to be heard, and to make sure that you're not being coerced, or you're not being disrespected or traumatized in your experience.
So important.
One thing that I'm grateful that you did for me was send me Sacred Birth Doula's Instagram information.
Isn't it
What are some
amazing?
things that you take away from Sacred Birth Doula?
I love her platform. I love her Rights Over My Birth package. It's extremely comprehensive and in depth. Every single thing that you will be asked or offered at the hospital is listed in that package, and it's so good. I'm so glad I have it in hand. And then in using that, even using that could be like you said, like a list of issues that what in these issues you feel really, really passionate about, and those are the issues that I will stand up and fight for you, so you don't have to, and advocate for you in the hospital. Or we can talk about it with your partner or your family member supporting you, so that everybody's on board on what your wishes are and they're respected. I really like that about, that's my favorite part. It's amazing that she did that work, and she also did it for all 50 states, I believe. Yeah, which is insane. And then the fact that she relies on nutrition for prenatal nutrition and postnatal healing is amazing, because our food is our first medicine. And she understands the importance of that, and she also educates through her platform. Those are two of my favorite things, for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same. Let me respond to, I see Maternity Journey
Yeah.
a minute. She asked about how to facilitate, how do you generally facilitate that exactly, preparing for the 4th trimester? You can respond, and I'll give some insight too.
Sure. Preparing in terms of logistics, in terms of, so the material, everything around you, your home, the running of your home, if you have other children, if your partner has a job. So start delegating and start feeling comfortable with delegating chores and things around the house with people that you have around you. And if you don't have the people around you, family or friends, close friends that have, everybody says, you know, what do you need? I'll help you. So have, before you even give birth, have a list of things. When somebody asks you, what do you need? You know, you can, please do this for me. Please come once a week to my house and change my sheets. The other, if you have a friend who says, what do you need? Say, make me a lasagna. Your favorite food. Make me some brownies, or some cookies. Anything that makes you feel good. Your favorite foods. Write down your favorite foods. So when somebody asks, what can I get for you? You have a list of things. You don't even have to think about it. The chores around the house. If you have older children, that can maybe help the younger ones with homework, Or they can, if they're the same age or close to the same age in school, the school age, they can maybe watch each other, and you can have a conversation with your family, like for, you know, for maybe for a couple of months, you guys are going to cross check each other, make sure that the other one's doing their homework, because I'm not going to be able to be there. I'm not going to be able to be on top of your homework. I'm not going to be able to be on top of your assignments. So you, in having just a temp, it's not going to be forever, you know. It's just having that conversation with the older siblings. It's not going to be forever, but I have to focus on healing. Number one is healing, bonding, the breastfeeding journey, or chest feeding journey, if you choose to do that, it's hard enough. And it's a day and night. You know, it's all consuming. And then all the other changes that happen, that are already happening within your body. You're a brand new person. So you have a brand new newborn, and you as a mother are born again. So it's a super complex transition already for the birthing person. So all the things that need to happen in the house, have a person, somebody does this, delegate it, start delegating it to everybody, and start making, you have this activity, you have this activity, you have this activity, you have this activity. The food, for example, at your week 35, I would say, start cooking. Everything you cook, make double, and buy little packages, the little aluminum foil trays that are this big. Start putting things in aluminum foil in the fridge. So by the time you give birth, your freezer should be food, just ready to go. And so when you're postpartum period, you don't have to think about cooking. If your partner works, they can also help out, but then most of the food for you is already done. So preparing in that sense, I guess, just making sure that everything's already done, ready to go, or there's already a person assigned for each thing that needs to be done at home. Yeah, definitely. So once your outside is taken care of, you can just focus on healing, you know, learning this new life with a new soul in the house, and the breastfeeding journey.
Whew. Yeah, I think that all of that is valid points. I started just having so many different flashes of things where in my own postpartum journey, if I had that already ready to go, especially now that I'm living on my own, because with my son, I was living with my mom, and it was a little bit different. This time I didn't, you know, ask, you know, hey, since you are offering to help, how about you, you know, go to the grocery store and buy these things and help prepare things.
Yeah. And don't be
Those
shy.
10 days,
Don't be
yeah.
embarrassed.
Yeah, part of it was like, if you didn't support me during the pregnancy and you weren't communicating with me then, I wasn't going to reach out to you. But for the ones that just kind of like did ask, I only kept it at, oh, you can just come and stop by and, you know, check in with me, or we could just talk on the phone. I didn't want them to feel obligated to doing anything. And I think that that's where I messed up, because I could have made interactions with my in-laws a bit better too, by letting them know, hey, I may not want you to do X, Y, and Z, but these are some things that I want you to do. And if you can do that, that'd be great. And then if you can't, just come back when I'm ready to have guests. Because I think that that's another thing that I like to talk about in my postpartum planning and birth planning session, because it's fused together. I like to talk about the fact that you should send something like a mass text, because it's a little like infographic that I make, where it's like you list the different things that you want, because you may not want visitors as soon as you have your baby, or you may want that time to bond. And if you're gonna come, only help me with laundry and help me with this, not bring your input in and opinions and things and toxicity into the space. So just talking with that particular family about what they want their postpartum to be like, so that way they can send it out to their family, and then they can call and be like, hey, I think I can do this for you, and then adjusting things as you go. Because I think that the fourth trimester is
Definitely.
key, is
Yeah, and
very
don't.
key in talking about.
Definitely, and don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed if somebody says, "Oh, I want to come by. I want to come see you." Say, "Good. Come hold that baby so I can take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
Come hold the baby so I can take a walk. I really need 5 minutes to myself." And but that being able to get to that point of asking for help unapologetically, um, it's a journey for a lot of us. Asking for help is something that we've been. I don't know where it came from, but um, it's really hard for a lot of us, myself included, and it's preparing psychologically to do that, and because just knowing that you are supported, that you are that you're not alone. It's a process to really know. We can know it in our head, but really knowing it in our bodies takes time. So it's good to prepare to get to that point where we can ask for help without feeling any negative way, and knowing that the people who offer help mean it and they love us and they support us and that we're not alone. It's super important to have a preparation and multiple talks about that leading up to birth and postpartum.
I just had a thought because my partner has a cousin who's pregnant and she lives
Mm-hmm.
in an apartment right behind me, and she had a gender reveal recently, and we know
Mm-hmm.
that like gender reveals, baby showers, and all of that has been really popular lately. At least for me, and seeing so many different pregnant people popping up for the winter going into 2021, and so I just had a thought about like when you have your gender reveal and your baby shower, um, when you do like the little sign-in sheet to remember all the people that come in, why not have that be your postpartum list? So you have your name, your phone number, how you're related to whoever, and then that way you're creating a list of people to reach out to ahead of time to say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, hey, this is who so and so's. You guys are considered her birth support team. So these are
What do you
ways that you
write
can get
down?
involved.
Yeah, what do you know how to do?
Yeah, what do you know how to do? And then like tying it into like if you want to attend this virtual childbirth class with me, here's some ways to learn something new about birth, or come to my planning session with my birth worker so that you can learn ways to support me, or come with
Definitely.
me in this situation and learn comfort measures so when I'm laboring at home and not freaking out, you can come and support me and provide comfort this way, or
Mm,
preparing things as far as like putting gas in the car and making sure bags are packed and kids are good. These are different ways that you can learn how to prepare yourself for my experience instead of you projecting your fear onto me. Because I think that fear is a lot of times the big thing in pregnancy and birth and in the postpartum, because you're so
yep.
scared of this pain. You're so scared of, doing something new with your child because it may be different than what your family does. You may be scared to being at risk of not making any money by actually recovering and resting at home, because a lot of us were raised by women that had to just have a baby and go back to work
And do it
literally right
all.
after that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Definitely.
yeah. Um,
100%.
some topics that we discussed in our Zoom call ranged from some really big topics. So we had COVID-19, how to support someone going to the hospital. We have educating the partner on how to advocate in the hospital. We have policies, laboring with a mask, and patients' rights.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to dive into any of those, let me know.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely touch that subject because it's relevant and it's in everybody's mind. Um, and the most important tool that you can have in your hands going into a hospital at the moment is knowing your rights. Is the most important thing. And knowing the options that you have, that you can still birth in a birthing center, you can have a midwife at home. There are options. The hospital is not the only option. But if the hospital is your choice, you have rights, and you have rights to labor without a mask. You have a right to have your birthing person and a doula. You already live, you already know, you experienced that. Um, and you have a right to keep the baby inside your room all the time. They don't need to take baby out for exams under any circumstance. So just knowing what your rights are, and then preparing your birth team to advocate for you, so that we've seen stories of people throughout this last few months just having really lonely, really, really tough experiences due to the new restrictions. One source of information is evidence-based birth. They have a whole section about COVID-19, what the studies are, what's based on studies, and not just hospital policy. That's, that are made by medical lawyers and, 4 or 5 doctors making decisions that not even the doctors and the nurses might even agree with, but they're being made at the top. So what's backed by science and what your rights are. So that's, I think, the most important tool to take into the hospital, that preparation.
Yeah. I recently watched a Zoom, it was like a Zoom webinar with, I believe it's called Birth Monopoly is the name. And they had a couple of birth workers talking about different ways to not just advocate for the client, but to talk about the experiences that birth workers as well as clients, birthing people experience in the hospital. And it's so strange to me that obstetrics and gynecology, they like to rave about the fact that hospitals are so safe, they're so clean, they're so this and they're so that, when most times you're going to the hospital if you're dying, if you're sick. So now you're bringing your energy of having a baby into this space, and you're seeing so many deaths happening. I wonder why this seems to be the positive option. Not that it can, it can never be great, because there are so many different ways that people can be great in the birthing space of a hospital. But with the statistics behind it, you're seeing all of this negativity happening. And the fact that midwifery, the fact that, birth workers are not being important in the birthing space for so many hospitals. There's a lot of control happening where this is some of the key things that you need to survive your birth. Because I think that for a lot of women or birthing people, it's really a life or death situation. And if you have that additional support, and that support itself is educating you too. So without education, you are at risk of so many different things happening.
Yes.
Yeah, I was unaware of my rights in both instances, and I think that it's not enough to just leave it at, okay, I'm a birth worker and I'm just trying to talk to you. I think that there needs to be more as far as the family, as far as especially with first time parents, because they have no idea. They want to do things their own way. They're trying to combat through familial things, if there is stuff there, because I know that there are not all toxic families, but for the most part, in these instances where you're seeing trauma happen, it's because someone's not being heard, and there's some issues that are lying there that people are just kind of looking over. Let's see.
Definitely. I think that in part of the intuition work goes into that, and knowing exactly what your values are. Know what your alignment, when you're aligned, mind, body, spirit, everything is in order, and you're being coherent with your wishes, with your desires, with what you wanted your birth to look like or feel like, all those things. When those are in play, then you can plan for a birth that best suits you. Because what happens is that at the hospital, you're set up to navigate this patient algorithm that looks the same for everyone. And that, well, that's also with a side note that there's still institutionalized racism. So it really doesn't look the same for everyone. They try to make it seem like we all get the same care, but we don't. But even if it was equal care, we don't want that, because every single person is different. We have different stories, different pains, different belief systems. different experiences. We want different, every single person wants different things. So you have to know where you stand. You have to know exactly what you want, how you want it, how does it look like, at what measure, so that you can have a unique experience for you. You tailor your own birth, basically, because the hospital is going to give you the standard care, the steps. This is step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to be put into this conveyor belt of care, assembly line. Everything's packaged the same way, but we're not all the same. So to get that unique experience, the one you dream of, that voice of intuition is the one that's is your compass towards that dream birth. And it's writing out a birth plan that's detailed, not just, I want a healthy and happy baby, right? That's too general. That's in a little box. So it's, and our intuition, our authentic self, is the one that's going to create that reality, or co-create that reality with your birth healthcare provider. And your intuition is also gonna lead you into choosing a healthcare provider that is going to facilitate that dream birth for you. Because you're just gonna picked up by the system, get put through the conveyor belt, and come out the other end.
A friend of mine someone that I came across that I'm going to be interviewing for this series brought up a very good point about not just leaving the birth plan just for that one session, actually integrating that birth plan every time you're seeing them, and not in a way where it's like you're just repeating the same thing so that they're not going to forget, but kind of like talking to them in certain instances based on, as they progress, the different, if there are complications that come along, if there's different things that are happening in the situation, or whatever phase you're in with your client, finding new ways to bring that birth plan into the conversation. Because there's so many different aspects of that plan that you create that you can talk about. It's a plethora of things to talk about, whether that be the medical interventions you choose, the self-care you choose at home, so many different things you can really just bring in. Okay, so remember last week when we talked in your birth plan, that happened. So what are you going to do if, worst case scenario, they say you're going to have a C-section? What are you going to do if, they tell you that your baby's too big and they haven't given you proof that your hips are too small to push out a baby? Like, what are the different scenarios that can, bring them results so that they're not feeling scared in the moment of birth? And it's like, okay, they're bringing things to you to try to coerce you or to try to make you feel like, oh, I have to just trust you because you have a nurse uniform on it. You have to, you're a doctor. You have a degree. So I have to automatically trust you with no questions.
Right.
I think that
and that those hard
very
decisions,
vital.
I agree. And I think that those hard decisions have to come from the birthing person. They have to be, because even if they're hard choices, when the birthing person is the one in charge and is the one making those decisions, they can look back and be kinder to themselves. Look at the process or the lessons and the journey with a better look, with just being kinder, because they know the decisions were made from an authentic place. So let's say I dream of a natural birth. I dream of a natural birth where I can move and sway and sing and dance and do all the things I want to do, but I end up having a cesarean. But that choice has to be mine. It has to be talked about. It has to be that the healthcare provider are my counsel rather than my they're right. They're, like you said, like, they're not coercing you. They're not making you do things or scaring you into things. Or basically that's what they do. And it's a choice, and I can say it's a conversation so frank and so compassionate that I can say, you know what, I did try my best. I've been laboring for 2 days the way I've always dreamed of laboring, but this is the choice that I'm making, and I'm making it from my authentic self. I'm not making it out of fear. I'm not making it to please my ego. I'm not making it to please my healthcare provider's ego. No, that's so much of a truer decision to make, and that has to be the change, that the mothers are the hierarchy, or the birthing people are the hierarchy and are the decision makers.
What do you say to people, whether that be when you're in the hospital space or with other people, where it may sound like you're being aggressive or you're being overbearing by speaking about your rights?
Just I don't hold on, it's getting a little dark here. I wouldn't, I know it would be in the moment, it would be absolutely nerve-wracking. And in the moment, and I think you experienced that with your last birth, with the clients that you had.
Yes, I did.
My first instinct is to say, forget them. Is to say, what what else is new? People are telling women that they're aggressive, or they're too much, or they're too loud, or they're taking too much space. What else is new, right? We've been told that for hundreds of years. So that's my first instinct. But I understand that under pressures and under a critical situation, that's much harder to navigate than just me sitting here in the comfort of of talking to you, and we understand each other. But always be true. So as much as we want to teach the birthing parents to be honest with themselves, and to have their integrity aligned, and to know exactly what they want. Us as birth workers or birth keepers, we have to have our own integrity intact, and we have to speak out when something doesn't feel right. We have our own red flags that happen inside of us. That's our intuition also saying there's something not right. There's something happening here. We have to be true to those things. That's what I believe. I feel like, because if we don't, then we come away from a birth saying, I could have done something better. I could have said something. And that's how I believe that's how birth workers burn out, because they're not speaking out of fear of being shunned, or not being allowed in a hospital again, or fighting, or having this battle that people think is a thing, like battling, it's the doulas against the system, or the doulas against the doctors, or doctors against the midwives. That battle doesn't exist. That's a battle of egos. There is a way to all work together, because the doula sphere came up from a void, from a gap of care. So we're not supposed to be fighting against each other. We're supposed to be filling the gaps, in the care of birthing people. So it's just speaking out. It's just not being afraid. Standing up for what you believe in, knowing with every cell of your being that what you're speaking out for and what you're protecting is the right thing to do. And it's aligned with your values and your integrity, and everything's in check. It's not coming from fear. It's not coming from ego. It's not coming from this or that, any other thing. Definitely.
Yes. What are some things that you do now that you started since you started your journey as a birth worker? Like, what do you do on your day to day?
Some of the things that have changed for me. So I quit birth control so I could be more in contact with my bleed. And it's taught me so much. And I've gone through amazing changes in my whole well-being because of it. Learning how to respect my bleed. And I'm the typical person who's been on birth control since I was like 16 or 17. I have PCOS. I had really heavy bleeding, irregular, all over the place. It hurt with pain. I even had periods when I was younger that were accompanied lovingly by vomiting and diarrhea. It was the worst thing. I also hated my period, the typical, what we hear from everybody.
Yeah.
And every time I got my period unexpectedly, I'd be like, oh, what I have to be a woman. I hate this so much. I had that terrible relationship. And that I have healed that in the past year. And it's been absolutely amazing. And now every time I bleed, I hold my womb and I'm like, you're so amazing. I'm here for you. Like, it's such a different relationship that I have with my own body. I think, has been my greatest achievement since I since I began this work.
Congratulations. That
Thank
is
you.
beautiful to hear that we have
Thank you.
one extra queen that is embracing her
Hmm.
wound, because
Yeah.
I never did it until before I conceived my daughter. I was doing it, and I had the birth control at the time, and it was contributing to so many different symptoms. And I started preaching about yoni steaming at work. I used to, any woman that I would come across, or menstruating person, I used to tell them, try yoni steaming, try,
Yes.
all these different things to allow the medicine to go up into your womb and to heal, clean, renew, um, and to just, get in tune with something that a lot of us didn't get to really just talk about as kids or learn
Hmm.
about. So I
Definitely.
resonate with that. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Um,
I'm so happy for me too. And I tell everybody that my friends laugh at me because every time I'm bleeding, I am like, my psychic powers are on. Like, everybody watch out, And I tell everybody, don't call me. I'm gonna be in my
yeah.
in my mood, or I'm going inside. I'm not gonna go outside. I'm not gonna do any activities. I'm gonna focus on this. And I yeah, and I've loved it. I feel like I've come into a power that I didn't know I had, and I honestly believe that every single person does. Have a, an insane amount of intuitive power when we're in contact with our bleed, and it's real. Um, and I'm just so amazed at our own bodies. It's so great. I was just telling my mom that I used to have really painful periods, and this is my personal experience. I understand others people with problems that need to be addressed by other means. Um, but I earlier this year, I had a really painful period. One of the first 3 or 4 cycles that I had off the pill or off birth control, and I started getting cramps, really, really painful cramps, and I consciously decided to treat it as I was giving birth, and I was like,
Mm.
okay, what would I say if this was a birthing person? And I was just, thank God I was by myself. I started like swaying my hips. I started chanting. I started like humming, like roading. I did all the crazy things as if I was laboring. And I cried. I sobbed. I threw myself on the bed and sobbed. And since that cycle, my periods haven't been painful. So I honestly think that for now, at least, I know I have a feeling that this cycle is going to hurt because I've been really bad with myself. The last cycle, I've been eating bad. I haven't been sleeping well. And I feel like they're going to, my bleed is going to send me the receipts for that because I haven't been listening. And that's why it's so
Mm.
important to listen. Um, but since then, my periods have been so soft, strong in my intuitive sense, in my heightened sensibility, but there hasn't been strong pains or even strong cramps. And I feel like whatever it was trying to tell me, I don't even know what it was, but I cried about it. I sobbed about it. I groaned it out
Mm.
of my body. And I've had such healthy cycles. And they're still irregular. Sometimes it's 40 days, sometimes some cycles are like 35. There's been a couple that have been a perfect 28 days. And when that
Mm.
happens, I'm like, you're doing so well. You're so amazing. You're just the best womb that ever existed. You had a
Yes.
perfect 28 day cycle. Like, I talk to myself as if it was like, I don't know, a little baby. You're doing so well. And I'm just telling myself these things, and I'm just giving, touching myself, and
Mm.
it's amazing. I'm
It
really excited
is.
about that. And I
I'm
wish more people
excited.
knew. I wish more people
Yes.
knew. Yeah.
I literally just finished bleeding, I want to say yesterday,
Hmm.
but I have had bleeding where it would be only 1 to 3 days, or it would be that I wouldn't even sense anything was happening because it would just begin so smoothly. And so I already know if I'm eating the way I should and speaking to myself the way that I should and creating space for myself as I should, the experience will be that much greater. So I am so in love with the fact that you are tuning into that. I see Maternity Journey said,
Yes. Let me
I
see.
literally say I am delivering my eggs each month because I had to use the same comfort measures I encourage my moms. Yes. It's literally the same space. It's nothing different in so many ways. So
Yeah.
you have to treat yourself the same way that you would your clients, because you are a birthing person. You are capable of all of these things as well. So let's see, we have about 4 minutes. So in
Okay.
those final minutes, I just want you to talk about the hardships, the victories you face as a birth worker, as a woman, and what takeaways you would like to give any birth workers.
Okay. So the first part, the hardships, what I've been going through right now is that it's been really hard for me. First, I want to thank you for creating this space, because I have been so terrified to show up. And I understand that this platform is extremely important to reach out to people that most need me. And I have been absolutely terrified to take up space. And that's, has been my personal hardship with this work, because we're the ones creating a platform so we can draw in, the clients that need us. And that process has been really hard. And it's not the lack of creativity, because I literally have new ideas every single day. I have too many ideas. And it's not creativity, it's really taking up space and really showing up and really have the confidence to be seen. Um, I was just thinking about that because I was reading about how we develop our chakras every 7 years. And I'm in the first year of developing my throat chakra. And it's the thing that is so hard for me. And it's the process that I am right now is developing my throat chakra and refining my communication and speaking my mind, speaking my heart, speaking my light, all those things. I feel like I'm in a really profound process of transformation, from being the person who wants to blend in the background to a person who says, this is what I've learned, and this is what I'm here to guide you through with, or guide you through, or be with you through this journey. So that's been my hardship, which is not a hardship, but transformative, always uncomfortable. And advice for birth workers: believe in yourself. It's so cliche, but
It's cliche, but you need to hear it. Believe in yourself.
yes, believe in yourself. You are on the right path. If you're soul aligned, spirit aligned, heart aligned, it's the right thing. And it's super terrifying and it's scary, and there's no securities. There's no, all of these false sense of illusions that society has created for us, the job and the thing and the house, and there's none of that being a birth worker. It's just fully soul and spirit fueled, jumping into, this thing. And we have to trust in it and really believe in it.
I do too. We have 30 seconds left. I want to say that you did amazing. This
You are
was everything
amazing.
that I needed to hear. I'm grateful for you. And I believe we have a million topics to discuss in the future with this
So
series for sure.
I wrote notes to guide me through this, and I didn't even touch upon any of the things I wrote down. So we have a bunch of things to talk about still.
But yes, I'm grateful for you, Queen. I will be talking to you soon. And thank you to everyone that listened. Peace.
Thank you.